Beyond that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Butterfield.
Thank you, Your Honor. This first message is not going to be as effective as I hope it would be, but we just got word that our YouTube channel doesn't have sound right now, and I want to let you know that our team is working on it, and hopefully we can restore sound to those that are watching remotely on YouTube. And my wife just texted, and she said she can hear it now. So,
Wow, that was fast.
Okay.
Right as you said that. Sorry.
So the message was conveyed to the people, but it was the wrong message.
well, I'm really proud of our team for being on top of it and getting it fixed, and I apologize to those that are watching remotely that missed a little bit of our meeting tonight. But thank you to IT for fixing the issue. As was mentioned, we will have our Fix Our Road Citizen Committee meeting this Monday at 11 o'clock, and that will meet in the bullpen area. I also want to make note that we've been able to coordinate with several community stakeholders this week with our consultant that's exploring the feasibility of a multi-sport complex. Ballard King and Associates will be in town tomorrow as well, and they're taking time to get as many perspectives as possible as they help review the feasibility of adding some type of recreation or multi-sport facility in the community. And I appreciate their efforts because not only are they looking at the upfront cost of building a facility like this, but the ongoing operating liability, and that'll be valuable information for you as a council as things move forward. So we appreciate their efforts in that regard. The legislative session is ending this week. It has been a busy few months and widely reported on, so I'll be very brief. I want to say thank you to our legislative representatives out of Fremont County for their work, and also to team members that have been doing their best to represent the interests of municipalities as the legislature has been considering a record number of Senate files and House bills. So their hard work is nearing the end, and they can see daylight. Mm-hmm. I've already reached out to a few of our local legislators. As you know, in the past, we've had them come and do a session report to you as a governing body, and we'd like to coordinate that again because I think that is a valuable thing for you as a governing body and also our community that attend our meetings. I thank you for your support as I was able to attend some meetings with our congressional representatives last week. I want to say thank you to my team for ensuring that the trains ran on time and provided service, and I'm just always so grateful for their investment. And I can report that our meetings were very valuable. We had opportunity to speak about grant opportunities and how important they are, especially to some of the services we provide at the airport. And then also the importance of regional connectivity through commercial air service, and provide specific updates in that regard, and also explore the Essential Air Service Program and the viability of Wyoming airports to re-enter that program. So it was very valuable, and I appreciate the opportunity to have done that, and thank you for your support. I was pleased to receive a handwritten letter or a note from Captain Kelly Waugh from Lander, and I appreciated it because it was a personal touch. He expressed appreciation to you as a council, the city of Riverton, and specifically the Riverton Police Department for supporting the city of Lander during Mayor Monty Richardson's funeral. We were able to send officers over to help field calls and support the city of Lander at that time so they could have their officers pay their respects to their mayor. So I thought that was a nice touch, and I appreciated that, and also expressed my gratitude to our police department for being good partners. We've seen that in so many instances this last year through the multi-jurisdictional task force. We've seen it frequently with the Shoshone Police Department, where we're able to band together as a county and provide services and help each other out. And really that's what Wyoming's all about. We need to help each other, and I appreciate that we have that spirit and that attitude in our county. The Community Development Department and the Planning Commission are working through home occupation permits and child care permits. These are annual permits that are applied for and renewed, and those will be considered on March 20th, and the public is invited to attend that meeting. I'd like to embarrass Mia Harris at this time because she received her LPA certificate And I don't remember what LPA stands for, but it basically means that she's amazing.
Didn't need a certificate to know that.
That's true, but the state of Wyoming now recognizes it as well. Essentially, we're required to have someone with that LPA certification on staff. Ms. Harris has provided that service, and she was able to renew that certification recently. And it has a lot to do with ensuring that we manage projects and grants in an ethical manner, a professional manner, and a very transparent manner. I'd also like to embarrass Aaron Troyer, who's not here tonight, for passing his building official exam yesterday. This is a very important certification that's offered through the International Code Council. And it's a real feather in his cap because that's a challenging exam for him to prepare for and take and pass. And his efforts will prove valuable to our residents. As he then provides service to our community, he'll do so in a manner that's certified and then also all the more trained than what he is now. I lost my rhythm, I'm sorry. I just have two other things. I would like to send our congratulations to Missy White, who was selected as mayor for the city of Lander. We've had opportunity to work with Missy for several years, even prior to her position with the Lander City Council, and we wish her well as she serves that community and fills in for Monty as the community moves on from him. And then I want to say thank you to our Human Resource Specialist, Shanda Scott, for coordinating citywide trainings. We were able to have LGLP come in and train our supervisors and all of our staff members last week on crucial topics. And then we were able to have one of the community leaders from the Arapaho tribe, Cy Lee, come in and do a cultural training with our team. And we appreciate that, and I believe that was very valuable. Your Honor, I don't have anything else at this time.
Okay. Thank you. So this last week, I had the opportunity to attend FCAG. The former vice chair had been Mayor Richardson, so had to get a new vice chair, and that was, we selected Pat Navieu, who's the mayor of Du Bois. Discussed some of the different things we can do financially in terms of ensuring that we have WRTA keeping afloat. A little bit of a weird expression to use for a bus.
Maybe on the road.
On the road, keeping WRTA on the road. We did also have a chance to discuss, one of the things we've been talking about in FCAG has been being able to get more tribal involvement. In years past, we've had representatives from each tribe that have attended and have not been voting members. And so through some work with our new commissioner, Thomas, who was selected as a FCAG representative for the commissioners, he is going to try to get it arranged so that we can get representatives from both tribal business councils at the next meeting. And if we were going to have them be voting members, that would require a bylaw change. So we'll talk about that possibility. And I think FCAG as an organization really wants to have the tribes involved and can see that being something that will benefit our community. And when I say our community, as a whole, the county as well as the city of Riverton. And so hopefully we can have that work out, and looking forward to being able to have more collaboration. I just had a couple of citizens that had reached out with different things I wanted to share that were interesting, I suppose. The women's soccer team, I don't know if people know, but on Wednesday nights, they tend to have a music and jam session. The location has tended to change. I think they've been at the Holiday Inn. I think lately they've been at the senior center. But they'll have, different people that will go and play, and they'll just play as a group. Anybody that wants to go and play can go and play or sing or whatever it is. And people dance and enjoy it. And we just recently had one that the women's soccer team came to. And they took a picture with all of them and had a lot of fun. So the CWC women's soccer team was trying, I think, to get some community outreach, and it looked like it was a lot of fun to have them there.
Nice.
I also got a letter from Hunter Masters. I don't know if anybody knows him. He's a high school student. who was saying that he's wanting to have more support for the marching band. And I will just read that because he sent it to me, but it's probably something that would be beneficial. Mr. Hancock, my name is Hunter Masters, and I'm a part of the Riverton Marching Band, which, I mean, it's the Marching Wolverines, right? So we need to use the correct name here. I'm contacting to ask if you might consider donating to the marching band. The money will go towards our equipment maintenance cost. It would be great if you would show your support for our Marching Wolverines. See, there you go. Now he uses it. Who have gotten a superior rating for 3 years in a row. So I could donate to that cause on my own, and it would be just a one-time thing, and it probably wouldn't make as big of a difference. But I do hope that we get more recognition for our marching band and that we can get the community coming out and to support them. I can tell you as a musician myself, never having done marching band, but playing piano, instruments wear out. Instruments in the hands of high school students wear out faster. Equipment in the hands of high school students wears out fast. So I think it would be definitely a worthwhile cause, and I will be for sure donating to the Riverton Marching Band, the Marching Wolverines, but would encourage the community to keep them in mind and also keep in mind just what they've been doing for the community. I feel like we do really well at recognizing our sports teams and sometimes leave out things like speech and debate, which my son is on the speech and debate team, so that's why I bring it up. But we leave out things like speech and debate or the band or that kind of thing, and I want to make sure that they get the recognition they deserve, and I appreciate Hunter reaching out. And you can reach out to me again if you want, Hunter, and I'll get a check to you. Other than that, I was going to bring up the ribbon cutting tomorrow, but Councilwoman Borders brought that up already. That's exciting. That's local ownership of the Comfort
Your
Inn.
Honor, I have a couple questions. Does Hunter mention how much he's asking for? I mean, I had him in class and he was talking big money. But,
Well, Hunter, I work for the government. We don't make a lot of money in government, in Wyoming at least. Maybe in
yeah,
DC it's
well, he has big dreams, but, for that band, you know. But my next question is this Kavish Patel, young Kavish Patel?
Uh-huh.
I had him on my speech and debate team. I'm coming tomorrow. I have about 10 minutes window before lunch, but boy, I'm coming.
Yeah, and he called me up and invited me personally, too.
I saw that name, and he was one of my very first debaters. I'm excited. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's him and his parents that are going to be
Yeah. Oh,
taking
yeah.
over ownership.
I got real excited when I saw
He's
that.
like 21 years old, and he's already owning a hotel.
He's a little older than that, I can tell you, because I had him about 10 years ago. So, and he was probably 15 then. So,
That's more of your age and not his.
but yeah.
But
But I'll tell you, that's exciting. Anyway,
yeah,
thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
That's Kavish. He's a good guy. All right, well,
is
that's
Yeah.
that's it for me. Appreciate everybody coming to the meeting tonight. I know everybody has a lot of agenda items they want to get to, so we'll get to that quickly. We are going to do communication from the floor right now and would encourage any citizens who'd like to come up and speak that they'd come up now. If you're here to speak about an item on the agenda, don't come up now. Come up when that item on the agenda is called. I don't say that to try to discourage people from speaking, but just to say it gets confusing if somebody comes up and speaks about something and then we have the agenda item and it just makes it so that we have discussion here and then and later. So if you'd like to speak on an agenda item, I'd ask you to come and speak to it when that agenda item comes up. We're very open in our meetings in terms of having individuals come up even when we're having discussion. Just ask for recognition from the chair before you come up. In either event, if you come up, I'd ask you to tell us your name. If you're with an organization, tell us the organization you're with. I'd ask you to keep your comments to 5 minutes. If you're an individual, 10 minutes for a group. I will time you on my clock, so if you hear, on my clock, on my phone. So if you hear this go off, that means your time's up. We're not going to have the chief arrest you or anything, but I would ask you to please respect other people's time and keep your times to those time limits. I would ask you to avoid comments of a personal nature that would reflect on the character of another person, personal criticism, name-calling, ridicule, that sort of thing, and just anything that's going to disrupt the meeting. So, if you'd like to come up and speak now, you can, or if you'd like to speak during an agenda item, feel free to come up then. Anyone who wants to speak? Cindy?
Yay, Cindy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I brought flyers for the ribbon cutting. I just wanted to say we coordinated this with the Patels. They're great people, and they became bronze level members with the chamber. So we're coordinating their ribbon cutting tomorrow, and it's very exciting to do that. So I'm hoping everyone can be there. We also this Friday have our lunch and learn at the college, our monthly first Friday lunch and learn. Fremont County leaders, our leadership Fremont County will be presenting. If you want to know anything about that, please come up and enjoy lunch and listen to what they have to say. It's a pretty unique group and organization, and so and we've got a new lunch sponsor for our lunch and learns for 3 months. Ichiban will be doing that now. Bunks had done it for a good year or more. So 2 exciting things this week. Just updates on the chamber. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. You all know me, but nobody else does. Cindy Olson-Roden with Riverton Chamber and Visitor Center. We're almost done with our little bit of construction. The landlord is doing a new lighting and ceiling. So as soon as that's done, I'm going to formally invite the council and everybody else to come down, see the visitor center and the chamber. And what else do we have going on? Oh, today was the 3rd of our 6 editions of newsletters that went out. I hope everybody's enjoying that, sees it, the new format. It seems to be a lot more efficient, concise information, and so things are going really well at the chamber. We're getting new members and renewals that we hadn't had in the last year or 2, and so things are going very well. And that's all I've got, unless you have a question.
Anything that anyone?
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
appreciate you coming up.
Yep.
All right, we'll move on then. Administrative Services Director, oh. Are you wanting to speak about something that's on the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's wait until the agenda item is called then, and you could come and speak then. That
Not,
way we're not getting it split up.
not split up?
Yep.
Okay, so wait for the item?
Yep,
Okay, all right, thank you.
thank you. Ms. Harris, could you please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, February 18th, 2025, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, March 4th, 2025, Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations, March 4th, 2025, and Stover Edition replat number 1.
All right, items requiring further discussion? Councilman Carr?
Your Honor,
Yes.
the Finance Committee met at 6:45 this evening and recommend consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $122,306.04. Payroll and liabilities for February 25th, 2025 in the amount of $492,192.04 for a total of $614,498.08.
All right, thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. Any other discussion?
Your Honor, I need to abstain from the approval of the minutes for February 18th, 2025.
Okay. Noted. Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Appointment of alternate airport board member. Mr. Butterfield.
Thank you, Your Honor. We recently had a vacancy occur on the airport board for one of the alternate positions. Dean Peranto expressed interest in filling that vacancy. Mr. Peranto was previously a member of the airport board and had served as its chair prior to his service on the city council. He's expressed interest in filling this vacancy, and staff recommends that be done and recommends that the council concurs with the mayor's appointment.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Dean Peranto as an alternate member of the airport board.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders with the motion, Councilwoman Johnson Pearson Lewis with the second. We'll say it was Councilwoman.
You can say whatever you,
All-
I'm okay with that.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. All right, consideration of ordinance 25001, third and final reading, amending Riverton Municipal Code, Chapter 5.04, alcoholic beverages, hours of operation. Ms. Harris, if you could give us your report.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I know that you've heard my staff report before, but I think in light of the fact that it's its final reading and we have a healthy audience in here tonight, I think it's important to provide some good background information regarding what we're requesting here. Back in November, the staff held an informational meeting for our liquor license holders. Some of the things that we discussed were our licensing process, tips training, just different rules and guidelines permitting catering permits, just different things that they're required to follow. There was a discussion that was held regarding a request from liquor license holders to extend their Sunday hours of service. They pointed out that the current 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. window makes it challenging for them to offer morning drinks for Sunday brunch, accommodate tournament schedules, and serve customers who want to watch sporting events at local bars and restaurants. To address this, the city staff looked into liquor service hours in other municipalities across the state. Most cities allow the same service hours every day of the week, including Sundays. To better support local businesses and stay in line with the community, staff is proposing a change to the city ordinance. Under this proposal, liquor sales would be allowed from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day, with drive-through sales limited to 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. The adjustment would give businesses more flexibility while keeping our policies consistent with the rest of the state. And the proposal will now be considered by you for third reading. This, at the February 18th meeting, our last council meeting, the ordinance passed with an amendment to the hours beginning at 10 a.m. through 12 a.m. on Sundays. I also have forwarded a letter to you from Miss Amanda Henry of the Brown Sugar Coffee Roastery in support of the change, but she's still requesting hours of 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. And I would stand for any questions and look forward to a great discussion.
All right, thank you. You could also read ordinance 25001 by title only.
Yes, Your Honor. Ordinance number 25-001, an ordinance amending Title V, Business Licenses and Regulations, to revise Chapter 5.04, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 5.04.040, Hours of Sale, Section 5.04.120, Subsection A, Paragraph 1A, Liquor License Requirements, Restrictions by Category, Delivery of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 25001 as amended on third and final reading.
So moved. Second.
Councilman Bailey with the motion, Councilman Peranto with the second.
Who? Clark.
You're sitting over there, Eric. We just appointed him to the airport board, and my mind just... Councilman Carr with the second. It's only been 3 months.
Your Honor, based on this letter, and I do agree, this is an excellent and well-written letter, I would like to amend the motion to include the hours of 6 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Okay, so as it stands now, the ordinance is, as we've got it in the packet, which has between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 a.m., and have to clear everybody out by 12:30 a.m. is the way we have it written in there right now. Your motion then would be basically to replace 10 a.m. with 6 a.m., did you say, or 7?
6 a.m.
6 a.m.
6 a.m.? Okay, so we had a motion for passage of the ordinance as amended, and now we have a motion to amend it to change it from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. Do we have a second for that motion?
I would second. Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilwoman Pearson Lewis and a second by Councilman Bailey. So now discussion on that amendment only.
Your Honor.
Yes,
He
Councilman.
was talking about a well-written letter. Could you
Should be in front of you.
explain the desire of increasing that by 4 hours and what heart-throbbing letter drives that direction?
Your Honor.
Not
or
interested, just
If we could
discuss
just
it.
read the letter out loud, so because she was going to be here to do that, but she's sick.
You're welcome to read it, either that, or if you want to answer the question there in particular.
Wouldn't say heart-throbbing, Kyle, but would say that it's mainly saying two things. One, she says that the desire, well, we can read it. Carla, do you want to read it? Do you want me to read it?
It doesn't matter. I just thought it would be appropriate since you can't.
I think you're right. I think it is appropriate. So this letter comes from Amanda Henry, Brown Sugar Coffee Roastery. And basically, I mean, she's saying that, you know, alcohol issues aren't tied to early Sunday sales, and there's a desire for early Sunday sales, which we did hear from owners last week as well. Request to vote yes for Riverton's liquor law matching Wyoming state laws for Sunday sales. Again, this is from her, not from me. As the owner of a brunch restaurant in Riverton, Wyoming, I am advocating for the city to revise its current ordinance prohibiting alcohol sales before noon on Sundays and align it with Wyoming state liquor laws, which permit sales from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily, including Sundays unless local jurisdictions impose stricter rules. My restaurant opens at 7 a.m. on Sundays to serve brunch, and our customers consistently express a desire to enjoy popular brunch beverages like mimosas and Irish coffees, options we cannot legally provide under the current city ordinance. Here's why Riverton should adopt the state's more permissive standard. Number one, consistency with law. State law promotes fairness. Wyoming state law, Title 12, Chapter 5, allows alcohol sales from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., 7 days a week, giving local governments the flexibility to set stricter hours but not mandating it. Many Wyoming cities like Cheyenne and Casper follow the state's lead and allow early Sunday sales, recognizing that businesses and customers benefit from uniform rules. Riverton's noon restrictions create an uneven playing field, penalizing local businesses like mine while allowing competitors in nearby jurisdictions can serve alcohol during peak brunch hours. Aligning with state law ensures Riverton's businesses aren't arbitrarily disadvantaged compared to others in Wyoming. Number two, economic benefits for local businesses. Brunch is a growing trend, and alcohol, particularly mimosas, Bloody Marys, and Irish coffee, is a key part of that experience for many customers. By prohibiting sales before noon, Riverton's ordinance limits my restaurant's revenue potential during our busiest Sunday hours, 7 a.m. to noon. Customers who want a full brunch experience may choose to dine elsewhere, potentially outside Riverton, taking their dollars with them. Allowing sales from 7 a.m. would keep that revenue local, boost my business's profitability, and increase tax revenue for the city. Other Wyoming communities have seen economic gains from relaxed Sunday restrictions. Riverton could too. Number three, meeting customer demand and expectations. My customers have made it clear they want to enjoy a mimosa with their pancakes and an Irish coffee with their eggs Benedict. These are standard brunch offerings nationwide, and past customers expect them when they visit a brunch spot at 7 a.m. The current ordinances force me to turn away these requests, frustrating patrons and hurting our reputation. In a recent informal survey at my restaurant, over 80% of Sunday morning diners said they'd order an alcoholic beverage if available. Aligning with state law would let me meet this demand, improve customer satisfaction, and build loyalty among locals and visitors alike. Number four, Riverton's alcohol issues aren't tied to early Sunday sales. Opponents might argue that extending Sunday hours would worsen alcohol-related problems in Riverton, but there's no evidence to support this. The city's challenges, like public intoxication, stem from broader issues, not the specific hours of sale. State law already regulates responsible service, e.g., Wyoming's service training requirements and law license oversight. And my restaurant complies fully. Brunch drinkers sipping a mimosa at 8 a.m. aren't the same demographic causing late-night disturbances. Data from Riverton police arrests records, as noted in past council discussions, show no correlation between alcohol incidents and operating hours. The noon start hour is an outdated restriction that doesn't address real concerns. 5, a simple, practical solution. Adopting the state's 6 a.m. start time, or even a compromise like 7 a.m. to match my opening doesn't require reinventing the wheel. It's already the default across Wyoming, and Riverton can implement it with minimal disruption. My restaurant would benefit immediately, and other local businesses could opt in as they see fit. This isn't about late-night bars. It's about giving brunch spots like mine the same opportunities as our peers statewide. Conclusion. Riverton's noon Sunday restriction is a relic that clashes with Wyoming's broader liquor laws, stifles local commerce, and ignores what customers want. As a brunch restaurant owner, I'm asking Riverton City Council to align the ordinance with state law, allowing alcohol sales from 7 a.m. on Sundays. This change would level the playing field, boost our economy, and let me serve my customers the full brunch experience they expect. It's a win for fairness, a win for business, and a win for Riverton. I realize that pushback on this matter is strong and that there has been talk of a compromise at serving at 10 a.m. Instead of 10 a.m. compromise, I would like you to also throw out the idea of a 6-month trial period. Thank you for your time. Warmest regards, Amanda Henry, Brown Sugar Coffee Roastery.
Your Honor?
Councilwoman Johnson?
I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I think it's pretty evident how I stand on it. However, I do want to respond to a couple of these bullet points on here. The consistency with state law promotes fairness. That's why they have the clause in there that municipalities are allowed to dictate those hours. And I'm assuming that's because of, and I probably shouldn't assume, but I'm assuming that's because situations differ in different cities. And the makeup that we have indicates that Fremont County has a large alcohol problem. Now, while it may not directly be from her serving mimosas or whoever's drinking at 6 in the morning, I don't know, but it does allow for the other establishments to stay open later, and that's where a lot of the problems do come from, because people lack ability to stop drinking. The economic benefits for local businesses, and number 2, I guess if it's going to be about the almighty dollar, then maybe we ought to visit the option of a tax on alcohol. If we are going to be overran with alcohol problems and our resources, the police department, the ambulance service, the hospital, are all inundated with people who are abusing alcohol, then maybe we ought to reap some benefits off of that and charge an excise tax. As far as number 4 is concerned, Riverton's alcohol issues aren't tied to early Sunday sales, and maybe somebody can let me know, but have we ever changed the hours? No? So how would we know if they're going to impact Sunday service? As far as the public intoxication stemming from broader issues, I guess if we're going to agree that businesses can open up and serve, then why not allow it 24/7? And just really enforce the laws and ordinances that we currently have on the books as far as alcohol service is concerned. That includes every bullet point in the liquor license rules. And in the conclusion of this letter, it says that we are ignoring what customers want by not doing so, and I feel exactly the opposite. I feel that we are ignoring what the citizens of our community want for a few extra bucks. So I'm going to continue to not support this. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman Johnson. Councilman Bailey?
Again, we allow alcohol sales 6 days a week. I don't know what just Sunday changes that. The city also does not have the ability to put a tax on alcohol or anything else. We're dependent on what the state and the county allow us to do. And we can't offer 24-hour liquor sales because the state of Wyoming does not allow that, which we have to follow. We all know that we have an alcoholism problem in the community. But I don't think those are the people showing up for mimosas at a local restaurant. And I think those people, no matter what the hours are, they're going to abuse alcohol. And we have existing ordinances and laws against serving people that are already intoxicated, which I feel need to be strictly adhered to. And that would be the only thing that I know of that would help solve the problem. You know, the 99.9% of people that responsibly purchase and use alcohol are not the problem that we have in this community. It's the small piece that does abuse it. They're going to continue to abuse it, whether we change the hours or not. And so I don't think this law will have any effect, whether we pass it or whether we don't, on our overall issue. So, you know, to me, we need to make sure we're enforcing that the liquor establishments follow the rules, which is not serve people that are intoxicated, whether the hours are whatever they are. So, you know, I'm for people having the freedom to exercise their own responsibility. And, you know, what time of day they do that is not up to us to restrict, in my opinion. So I would support the amendment.
Any other discussion?
Hi.
Hello.
Back.
You could tell us your name?
I'm Rob Epima. My wife and I own the Adult Rec Center here in town. And actually, as I'm listening to this, the state of Wyoming actually allows 24 hours, 7 days a week. That is the law. It has been changed recently. I can't remember when it was, but did look that up. So actually, the state of Wyoming does not restrict any alcohol sales, period. And just like any other business,
In terms of hours.
in terms of hours, yes. Yeah, no, they restrict all kinds.
Don't sell to anybody?
Yeah, no, there's lots of restrictions, but as far as hours go, no, they do not. And just like any other business, if there's ability to make money, that's what we want to do. We're not going to overserve. We're not going to sell to. I mean, that's the stipulation that's going on. The next point in the meeting is further training for our employees to be able to recognize when somebody has had too much to drink, and they can stop that and cut that off. Our establishment is across the street from a well-known liquor store in town, and they refuse service to intoxicated people. Those intoxicated people then stumble across Federal to our place and want to purchase from us. We don't sell it to them either. So the whole idea of saying that this changing the hours is going to change this. These people that are abusing the alcohol and that are causing the issues are going to continue to do that no matter what. There also is the fact that people will leave town at now 10 o'clock at night and drive out to Resurride, drive over to Lander. They're going to drive somewhere now, and they're going to go get more alcohol because these places are open. So, I mean, if we're watching our customers and we're taking care of our customers and we're not overserving our customers, and when they leave, they have the ability to drive, or we get them a taxi cab. I mean, we all know people drink, and I had a customer one time come in, couldn't tell there was anything going on at all. He bought a shot and a beer. And the next thing I know, he couldn't figure out how to run his phone. He couldn't talk. He was incoherent. There's nothing that I can do with that. A shot and a beer isn't supposed to do that to anybody. He obviously had something before he came in there. I stopped serving him, and I got him a taxi cab out of there. That's the best that I can do. I didn't let him drive. And that's what we teach our employees, and that's what a responsible business owner does. So, I mean, yeah, I don't like the whole idea of having different hours every day, or different hours in a different day. And in fact, it's my business. I should be able to run it at the hours that are profitable to me, just like any other business owner does. So I'd ask for the 24 hours a day, and we get to choose when that happens. And if there's some type of excise tax or something like that that can go on that can help, by all means, we will pass that along to our customers that are going to have to pay that, right? As a business, I'm not going to pay that for them, but I'm all for that. If we can do that and that can help the community, bring it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make this community better by having the people that are enjoying their mimosas at 7 o'clock in the morning with their breakfast, because that's what they want to have. And I love to have a Bloody Mary in the morning. They're great. So, you know, like, yeah, that's what I have to say. Like, let's do the 24 hours a day. I don't think we should have a stipulation on our hours, because no matter where you go, the people that are abusing it are going to find a way to abuse it anyway. I mean, drugs are illegal, but yet drug dealers make a lot of money because they don't have any regulations on their hours. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
I know one person in the audience that was probably pleased to hear you were supportive of that in terms of the tax. Is there anyone else in the audience that wanted to speak? If you wanted to come up now, you could. We can still do more discussion here, but as good a time as any.
Good evening. I'm Jessie Lee, live here in Riverton. And I would just like to address the issue about that arrests should be made, that arrests can be made of people who sell alcohol to those who are intoxicated. And I'm just curious, I mean, I don't expect an answer tonight, but I think something to look into is that, in fact, are there arrests happening because of that? I suspect that there are people who are intoxicated. From my observation as a citizen of Riverton, that alcohol is being sold to people who are intoxicated, and probably not by the restaurant business. But is there a way? I know, like for underage sales, there's tests being done to make sure that that's being complied with. Yeah, I'm glad that brought up about taxes. I mean, this is, I formerly worked for the American Cancer Society and advocated for an increase in taxes on tobacco. And, one of the reasons that the main reason that the American Cancer Society supported that is that an increase in the costs does decrease the amount of sales, especially if it's a substantial amount. And that in turn then, that extra revenue could be allocated to deal with the health crisis that we have here in Fremont County and in Riverton about alcoholism. And we definitely have an underfunded mental health services that are needed. So if that, I would like to see, if you do pass this, to put in equal amount of time in looking at ways that could increase the excise taxes, the sales tax, whatever, on tobacco. And I know the former mayor and I, one of the former mayors and I worked on that issue to try to get, beer is 2 cents per gallon excise tax. And that is just, way underrepresentation of the costs that the abuse of alcohol imposes on our governments. And so I know that the liquor industry lobbyists are very powerful in Wyoming, as were the tobacco lobbyists. But that's something that I think could get the citizens could get united around to implement revenue to address the problems that alcoholism causes and to address the health crisis and to provide treatment. So, thank you.
Thank you. I guess just as a note for that, we do not have the authority, the city of Riverton, to be able to change the taxation model for any sort of alcohol sales. Nevertheless, it has been something that has been discussed, and we can discuss more.
And Your Honor, I apologize if I misspoke about the hours. That was my understanding, so.
Right, yeah. Well, and until I looked it up and verified, it was mine too.
Yeah.
But the state has literally no requirement for hours. I will note that the hours that the liquor establishments are closed tend to be we don't use this word in law enforcement, the quietest hours for law enforcement, for what it's worth. I mean, we're talking about correlation and stuff like that, but, yeah.
2 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning?
Well,
Quietest for everything.
12 a.m. to 6 a.m., I think, is when we're not as busy.
Yeah.
Mayor Hancock and council, I hadn't intended on saying anything this evening, but this is just too exciting. I can't,
Well, you were
my
kind
mouth
of-
shut.
You were kind of baited up there, and I didn't hurt it.
I know, that's just not fair at all. Ron Warpness, citizen. This is a difficult issue, I don't disagree. It's been described as being a moral issue. And I think that our underpinnings of our society and our country and whatnot, the hours that we have for Sunday are a reflection of those values that have come down to us historically. And I mentioned at a previous meeting that when I was growing up, Sunday, you couldn't buy any alcohol on Sunday, period, at any hour. And now we just keep whittling away and whittling away. And I think it was Councilman Carr that suggested that, well, this is a moral issue and we can't legislate morality. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. We tried that with alcohol at one time in our history, and the community just rebels against it. But I couldn't listen to this discussion and see the courage that it took Councilman Johnson to speak out, a lone voice in the wilderness, if you will, on it without supporting her. And I think that it's not so much of a moral issue as it is a value issue, okay? And your values as each individual councilman is a function of your morals, okay? And so this is more of a value judgment on what are your values for our community and where we're going. Chessie just spoke about the trying to raise the tax on beer. I spent 4 years trying to do that and was totally unsuccessful. And it's readily apparent from this discussion which direction this is going to go. This evening probably. I recognize that, but it's just the values of our community and what's important to us and where we're willing to invest our time and money and whatnot. And everything here has been described as, well, it affects my business, it affects my business. Well, that's true. It may, but, and that's when I suggested, well, just do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week and be done with it. And the people that have an alcohol problem are going to continue on, and it's not going to make any difference. And I agree with Mike on that, Councilman Bailey, that it's not going to have any difference at all on anything. But it says a lot about the values of our leadership in this community, I think. And so, thank you, Karen. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Warpness. You can come on up. I'll reset the timer so that we're not doing what we just did.
Good evening. My name is Rafael Delgadillo, and I do have a bar here in town. When we were at the last meeting, we talked about the hours. My business model is not going to change because of the hours that change here. If you made it 10 a.m. on Sunday or 6, if there's business, people are going to open up at that time. Most bars, package stores aren't going to avail themselves at 6 o'clock to open up. But restaurants do have a certain amount of people that go have a meal and have a drink in the morning. It's the only one they're going to have that day, goes with the meal. It's a social time. Currently now, I leave church, I go to Holiday Inn, I go to Trailhead, I go to other places. I see people there having a good time and talking. It's not going to be abused. Make the hours what you want at 6 and if it works for us, we'll use them. If not, we won't. And I can tell you, most businesses just aren't going to open up at 6 or 10, except when there's a special event that they want, a sporting event or something like that. Thank you.
I think and it's a good point, Raphael, I guess, that regardless of what the hours are, at Woodward's Liquor Store, for example, we discussed this at our last meeting because we were just curious, when are they open? 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 12 a.m., Thursday through Saturday. So, I mean, even with the availability of 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., I hear you. Anyone else? Ms. Wagon, this would be your time if you want to come up.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Wagon, for the record. And again, I think I made it clear from the last meeting that I totally oppose the amendment. I would hope it would stay 10 a.m. to, or noon to 10 a.m. And it was a tough meeting, this last meeting, and to share as an indigenous Northern Arapaho from the Wind River Indian Reservation. You know, I've been observing in everybody's words of those people, and I don't know who those people are. And I think we need to acknowledge that alcoholism is a disease. It doesn't care who you are. There's all kinds of types of alcoholics. There's functioning alcoholics. I mean, we can go on and go on and go on. But first and foremost, I think it's about the safety of our citizens of Riverton. And the facts are, we are number one. Those are the facts for all the causes of what alcohol brings. And it got pretty heated, but the first gentleman that came up and spoke this evening, at the last meeting, he stated and shared with us FBI came into his establishment. And then he referred to the Wind River. And that got me upset. Meaning, first and foremost, FBI shouldn't be going into your establishment. And we're not going to blame the Wind River. That's a red flag. Second, he shared about the business and football. And again, I stated, even in NFL, there's no game playing after 10 p.m. So I don't see the common sense of having the establishment open after 10 p.m. And there was another lady that spoke from Cedar Bar that came up, and this is where it got personal for me. I do the Billy Spoon Hunter tournament. And I thought, wow, imagine that. Making money off of my uncle's name. She didn't know I was related. That's my uncle. My mother's little brother. I can't help who I'm related to. Like my dad always told me, can't pick and choose my relations, but I can pick my friends. But I will stand up and speak out and oppose to this amendment. It has traumatized my family directly, alcohol. My daughter was murdered in this county by juveniles that had alcohol. The Wind River wasn't selling alcohol in 2019, so we don't know the X factor of where they got it from. But I bet you 99.9% it possibly came from Riverton. So with that being said, I'm against it, and I commend Mr. Butterfield sharing, Mr. Siley coming in, the culture component. of my people and good relations. Because when my daughter was murdered, I initiated that for the law enforcement to have a culture understanding with my people. So, I mean, I can say many examples. Like with the crime scene, they couldn't go into where the incident happened to obtain things that are dear to my family. A blanket to wrap my daughter in to lay to rest. That hurts. You only get to do it one time. I mean, did it have any bearing on the investigation? I doubt it. But I had to speak up and speak out to have them to be sensitive to what happens and how we are as people and how we grieve, how we mourn, what we do, culture protocols. That's really hard to explain. We just don't grieve one day and have a funeral. It's a long, enduring process, even for a year. And as memorials, I shared this incident, what was shared with my uncles. I went to my elders, and they were very upset of what was stated and what was shared, how the individual doesn't even know my uncle personally, his name, his life, his journey. And my uncle shared with me, why is the city council catering to these businesses? People are going to get drunk, regardless, noon to 10. Regardless. Why give them more hours? And I agree with raise the taxes. We have issues here. And the citizens of Riverton have been trying and trying and trying solutions, like I shared before. Myself on the Riverton Peace Missions, we held an unhoused summit. We gave birth to the Riverton Rescue Mission. I believe your wife was on that board. Then it gave birth to the Mercy House. We keep giving birth with no solution. And I know St. Margaret's has been helpful with people under the influence of trying to find a solution. I know Chief Hurtado trying to transport people to the warming huts. I mean, I know all these people personally that have helped. I know Rick Brannon. He's a dear friend of mine. But with that being said, we have a problem here. And it's not getting better. And it was ironic, the very next day after that meeting, the rangers shared that somebody passed away from hypothermia. But I mean, it's always something. And these people have a life, and it affects us all. And I come up here and stand for safety, for the citizens of Riverton. People don't like to talk about this kind of stuff and what it brings. And I don't know what happened to the MAD programs. I don't know what happened to the DARE programs. And like I shared before, even as a JOM committee member, our Indigenous people make up 40% of District 25. These are facts. And I believe we should work together. We all are not going anywhere.
I appreciate it,
So,
Ms.
with the
Wagon.
crime, look into that. And you even shared with me 95% that comes across the county attorney's office is alcohol-related.
Well, alcohol or drugs, it felt like, certainly seemed like it was at least 90%, yeah.
So with that being said, I really ask for you guys to reconsider for the safety of our citizens and to work with them, not just for the few. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. A little bit off topic in the sense that the discussion really should just be about the amendment, but I think we're all right. Any other discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Just for a point of information and clarification, a question came forward about what is in state statute about hours of sale. Currently, that's covered in 125101D, which states local licensing authorities may set hours of operation for alcohol sales, provided that the hours of operation are uniformly applied to establishments similarly situated. In 2017, Enrolled Act 19, or Senate File 43, which came out of the legislative session, repealed what used to be the standard set by the state of 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. So that had been a standard up until the 2017 legislative session when statute was amended. Several of the paragraphs were repealed, and subparagraph D that I just read was inserted, so it does grant you authority.
Was subparagraph D inserted, or was it already there? Because I do note, I mean, even with the way it was, we still had the limitation on Sunday hours and had gone more limited than the state had allowed.
Your Honor, it was inserted at that time.
Okay, just was curious. All right, any other discussion from the council? Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Butterfield, I appreciate it. All right. Well, the vote would be right now on the amendment as proposed by Councilwoman Pearson Lewis and Councilman Bailey, which would be to change from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. So that would still have a closure at midnight. So, all those in favor of that amendment, say aye.
Your Honor,
Oh,
as a point of order on third reading, we need to do a roll call vote.
this is for the amendment only. We'll be back on the main ordinance after this unless we have other amendments.
I apologize.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. Normally, I would agree with you, because I do forget that. All right, so on the amendment for 10 a.m. to 6 a.m., all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry. We discussed it last week, Rob Epema with the Adult Rec Center, sorry. We discussed last week about if it falls on New Year's. Does that have to happen now?
We had actually left that as it was in the ordinance,
Yeah.
which would be
Oh,
that it says if it's on
Okay.
New Year's.
Perfect, thank you,
subject to the
thank you.
extended.
I didn't want the vote to happen before that was.
Thank you for the
Okay,
clarification.
thank you.
All right, all those in favor of the amendment from 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
I vote aye. Motion passes. We're back on the main motion. Any other discussion on the main motion? I know we kind of took some of the main motion, wind out of the main motion sails. But any other discussion?
Your Honor, the only thing, I have gone back and forth, and if anyone thinks this is easy, please run next time, because it is not. But I'm going to go on the side of personal choice. I think people need to be personally responsible for the decisions they make. We can't make the whole entire town responsible because a few make bad decisions. And I don't think it's fair that we ask our business owners to lose out on potential income because a certain number of people can't handle their alcohol and they make bad decisions. For me, it's a choice about freedom and personal responsibility, and that's why I'm going to vote in favor of this.
Okay. I do have a question, actually. The letter from Ms. Henry, and I always want to call her Amanda Brown just because it's brown sugar, and I don't know why I do that. But the letter from Ms. Henry had referenced like a sunset provision. Is that something that we could do even? I didn't think that was.
Your Honor, is that in regard to her request for simply opening for her business?
No, for 6 months.
I believe it would have to go back to an ordinance change.
It's just what I was wondering about.
It'd have to go through the same process.
Well, if we had problems, we could then
Well, that's
revisit
exactly
it, so.
I mean, we were talking a little bit about statistics, and we were saying that as it stands, Sunday right now is one of the quieter days. We were talking about Wednesday being a busier day for law enforcement. If we came back and we looked at statistics that said, hey, Sundays have been turning into this absolute raucous.
I don't think it will.
Well, I don't think it will either, but I'm just saying it's always good to make decisions based on objective criteria.
I
and
agree.
I'd like to consider
I
it.
agree.
Your Honor, On the statistical analysis, I did run the numbers, and Sunday is it is statistically insignificant in instance, which means that any given Sunday, there's a football reference, is no different than any other day of the week, save Wednesday.
Which we did discuss a little
Yeah,
bit.
it was very literally
Being hump day, everybody kind of,
But there is no
one or
difference,
two, yeah.
mathematically speaking.
Your Honor. I don't know if that's working or not. I think the writing's on the wall, how the vote's going to go, which it is what it is, and I'll support that. However, the council decides. But I would throw out there and hope for the support from the rest of the council that we take a strong line and give our police department full authority without any restrictions to fully enforce what is already on the books then. Because there are many times that we're turning blind eyes to what's going on, to sales being made. And I just want to make this reference because I received an email from another citizen. You know, and I hear, and this isn't about the business owners doing what's correct or what's right or morality or any of that. It's about taking every step we possibly can to keep the citizens of our community safe. And if that means reducing hours or reducing sales of alcohol by a few hours to try to do our best to do that, then that's what I'm about. In the email she wrote, her family member is actually belly up to the bar 24 beers a day. And he does not appear intoxicated ever because he has such a high tolerance. So he is being served daily at these establishments. So when Ms. Wagon says that there's different degrees of alcoholism, she's absolutely correct. There is. And if it's not a problem, then why do, we have a DUI team out working. They got their alcohol somewhere. They're clearly intoxicated, driving around with it. So somebody's over-serving them. And I think that we need to make it very clear that going forth with this, if that's what it tends to be, then we are going to inherently enforce what's on our ordinances. We'll be watching.
I think that's a good point. And I think, it's part of the nice thing about the tips training, for example, which is partly why these two are together, is that in terms of training, you're wanting to be able to recognize if somebody's intoxicated. Our ordinance specifically says they've got to be visibly intoxicated, which is, I think, where Mr. Epima was saying, okay, we had this person that we served to, and then it became clear something else was on board. But I think you're exactly right. Being able to have that be, however they're getting it, that we want to make sure that's not happening. And I think that was part of the idea of this, the next ordinance would be to try to address that to a certain extent, too.
And I don't know if the ordinances have been changed or not, because everything is arguable. And what defines intoxication?
Well, that's actually specifically intoxicated in state statute, but
But what defines it as far as what they are supposed to look for in an intoxicated individual? Is it slurred speech, bloodshot, watery eyes? Is it unable to function? I mean,
All of the above.
what do they have to go off of? Because it's not, well, in our ordinance, it's not in there. It's not clearly defined what intoxication
The
is.
tips
Yeah,
training.
this training would happen.
And I agree, and the idea of the server training would be to be able to determine that, but you're exactly right, you've got to be looking for it. You've got to be trained. The same as law enforcement is trained. I mean, when it comes to a DUI, what are the things they're looking for? Bloodshot, watery eyes, red eyes, being able to look for slurred speech, slow ability to react, all of those things. Kind of like Mr. Epima said, obviously somebody who can't even function with their phone, or somebody when they're asked for their driver's license, they hand you a Burger King card or something like that, which does happen, by the way.
Your Honor, it just feels like we're moving on to the next agenda.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there. Anyway, but I think you're exactly right. When it comes to enforcement, I think making clear we're going to be enforcing what we have on the books.
I just really hope we can all get on board with that. I mean, if the council's wish is to to make it more accessible to an already known problem, then that's what we're going to do, and we're going to support that and support our businesses. And I support businesses. I do. I wouldn't want somebody telling me how to run my business, but I also didn't choose a business that's highly regulated. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, and I think Councilman Carr was correct. We've probably
Beat a dead
gone
horse.
This
gone
horse
the
is
rounds
dead.
on this.
Call for the question.
All right, we do need to do a roll call vote, though. So, Ms. Harris, if you could please conduct a roll call vote.
Councilmember Eric Carr.
Aye.
Your Honor, just by a point, have we read this by title only yet?
Yes, we did at the very beginning. Thank you for clarifying, though. Always good to make sure we're doing it right.
Councilmember Rebecca Pearson Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Mike Bailey.
Aye.
Councilmember Carla Borders.
Aye.
Councilmember Kyle Larson.
Nay?
Councilmember Karen Johnson.
nay.
Mayor Tim Hancock.
I vote aye. Motion passes. All right, next up. I know a lot of people aren't here for these. We'll get there quickly. We'll probably have a break before then. But we'll get there. Okay, consideration of ordinance 25002, third and final reading, amending Riverton Municipal Code 5.04, alcoholic beverages edition, alcohol server training. Administrative Services Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. During that same November 14th informational meeting with liquor license holders, a representative from Fremont County Prevention provided details on alcohol server training, including the Training for Intervention Procedures, or TIPS program. TIPS is a widely used training program in Wyoming that educates servers on responsible alcohol service. While the state does not currently mandate this training, Wyoming statutes authorize the Department of Revenue to work with the Wyoming Liquor Division to establish rules and guidelines for it. To promote consistency and responsible service across all establishments, the city is proposing ordinance 25-002, which would require all employees serving alcohol, whether at newly licensed or existing establishments, to complete a state-approved alcohol server training program. Key provisions of the proposed ordinance include mandatory training for employees at all licensed establishment, a requirement for new hires to complete training within 3 months of starting, annual proof of training to be submitted at the time of liquor license renewal, and employees must maintain valid certification throughout their employment. Many license holders noted they already require server training for their staff. This ordinance would standardize the requirements citywide, ensuring all establishments follow the same guidelines. And I have on good hand that the TIPS training will be held February 28th and March 31st, already scheduled in Riverton. So
Sounds good.
I'd stand for any questions.
February 28th of next year, or?
We're past February, sorry, March 31st. They had a training February 28th as well.
Just had to give you a hard time. All right, could you please read ordinance 25002 by title only, Ms. Harris?
Certainly. Ordinance number 25-002 on third and final reading, an ordinance amending Title V, Business Licenses and Regulations to revise Chapter 5.04, Alcoholic Beverages, by creating Section 5.04.060, Alcohol Server Certification Required of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 25002 on third and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Bailey, second by Councilwoman Borders. Any discussion on this one?
Your Honor, I did have someone ask me if this applies to malt beverage sales as well. This was in particular for the fair. So they're selling beer down there. They're wondering if this would apply to them as well.
All licensees, managers, supervisory personnel, and staff who serve alcoholic beverages employed at any licensed building and/or licensed off-site premises shall participate in. So I would think yes.
So are they working under a permit or a license?
I would think that it's going to be an off-site premises license that they would be working under. Is that correct?
They have been operating under a malt beverage permit, but the fair, we did review their TIPS servers, and many of their fair employees are already TIPS trained, so they're familiar and they've been through the process.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, though.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bailey.
They also, if they just hired them, they'd have 3 months to train them, so
It's a little bit of a weird idea, but you
It's
are
a little,
correct.
they don't work for them for 3 months, so I mean, it sort of doesn't apply, which,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
sorry
Might
to
not be
throw
able to get
mud
them
in
all.
the middle of the cake mix, but
yeah, right.
Any other discussion? All right. Roll call vote again.
Councilmember
Administrative
Eric
Services
Carr.
Director, if you could. Sorry, go ahead.
Councilmember.
Aye.
Councilmember Rebecca Pearson Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Mike Bailey.
aye.
Councilmember Carla Borders.
Aye.
Councilmember Kyle Larson.
Aye.
Councilmember Karen Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Tim Hancock.
I vote aye. Motion passes. Okay. Trying to think of a good time to take a quick break. Do we want to do it now? Yes.
Before I forget, I forgot to abstain on the consent agenda for the Stover addition, which is my property, so I'm abstaining,
After
abstaining.
the fact.
Post-vote abstention. Can note that.
Just one point. When I hear the state of Wyoming, Casper, and all of those others have expanded hours, it's the same sad story of comparison of unequal subjects. Riverton is unique, surrounded by a reservation. Cheyenne isn't. None of the rest of them are, and yet they want to be just like everybody else, but we can't. We are who we are. We are in Riverton to serve the reservation, not liquor, food, and clothing, and substance. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, I think it probably, let's do a break right now. Sound good? Get up and stretch. We'll be in recess until 8:45 PM, and then our next item is second reading of the ICC Building Code Edition.
It's time.
Thomas, that is.
Oh, no, I'm.
Just say this is my child, my
Get a lot of
Look, and I'll send an email out to all of the liquor licenses. We'll get a communication out.
It's warm in, it's a little warm in here.
All right, last call to sit down. Thank you. We'll get going. We're at item number 14, consideration of ordinance 25003, second reading, 2024 ICC Building Code adoption. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. As we discussed at the last council meeting, the state of Wyoming adopted the 2024 International Building Codes. This happened later last calendar year. The adoption includes the 2024 International Building Code, Fire Code, Fuel and Gas Code, Mechanical Code, and the International Existing Building Code. The ICC, the International Code Council, releases new versions of the building code on a 3-year cycle. Wyoming State Statute 359121 allows municipalities like Riverton to enforce building codes with their local authorities or the police powers that are granted to us by Wyoming statute. However, it does state that the city must adopt the building codes within 6 months of the state adopting the building codes. And if the municipality does not adopt similar versions of the building codes, then we lose our home rule authority when it comes to building inspections and plan review in this matter. The Board of Appeals is the recommending body as it relates to building codes. The Board of Appeals is made up of a 7-member board with local contractors and tradesmen. The 2024 building codes were provided to the Board of Appeals on January 21st, and they had opportunity to review them. On February 10th, the Board of Appeals met and made a recommendation that the City Council adopt the 2024 building codes. I would like to point out that we did have a scrivener's error in the ordinance that was proposed on first reading. That was corrected for your packet for the second reading, but I want to make sure I call attention to that. What we're looking at is page 21 of your packet. This would be in reference to section A2, A5. This relates to section R313, automatic fire sprinkler systems. Our current municipal ordinance has this reference to the International Building Code as being deleted in its entirety. In working with the Community Development Department and our interim building official, Dave Paskett, again, he mentioned that on first reading that was meant to be struck through, and this is going to sound like a double negative because it is. So we're striking through the reference that it was deleted in its entirety. So by striking the deletion, it's making section R313 enforceable, or item of the International Building Code that we are keeping in place or adopting. Section R313, for your reference, relates to fire suppression systems for townhouses. And I'll just make a quick reference to it. It states that an automatic residential fire sprinkling system shall be installed in townhouses. It does provide an exception, however, that an automatic residential fire sprinkling system shall not be required where additions or alterations are made to existing townhouses that do not have an automatic residential fire sprinkling system. So again, I want to bring your attention to it because it was a scrivener's error from the first reading that was passed. And what is currently before you is a correction to that, where we are striking that as being deleted in its entirety, meaning it is in full force with what is proposed. With that, Your Honor, I'd stand for any questions, and I want to thank Mr. Dave Paskett for being here, as he'd also be able to stand for any questions that you have.
Sounds good. Administrative Services Director, if you could please read ordinance 25003 by title only.
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 25-003, an ordinance amending Title 15, Buildings and Construction Codes to revise Chapter 15.04, Building Construction and Maintenance Codes, Section 15.04.010, Adoption, Applicability, Filing, and 15.04.040, Local Design Criteria and Loadings of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
I'd entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 25003 on second reading with the changes as noted by Mr. Butterfield.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion. Councilman Carr with the second. Discussion or amendments?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I guess I understand what Mr. Butterfield all explained to us. I guess I wish the state would just grow up and just tell us that we have to do it instead of beating around the bush. Because this, you don't have to approve it, but if you don't approve it, we're going to make you do it anyway. So that's just ridiculous, in my opinion. So again, they just waste all of our time dealing with all this stuff when really they just said, you have to do it.
What I do like is we can make changes that make sense, and we have since 2021. The same changes that we had changed in 2021 are modifications to what it has, which as long as it's the same or similar to, I think these changes are appropriate.
Yeah,
But,
it's just frustrating to me.
oh yeah,
But
I agree. Any other discussion?
it's like when you were a teenager, you can do anything you want, but if you don't do what I want, you're not going to get to do anything you want.
I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that. Is that kind of it?
That's right.
Meatloaf.
All right. Sounds good. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. I vote aye. Motion passes. Now, what you have all been waiting for, item 15. This was something that I think, you never know what everybody's here for. Sometimes you do, because I was walking around the room and I could see a lot of people here from St. Margaret's. So, thank you for being here and for being patient. And hopefully for the kids, especially the Anderson kids that I know are pretty young, if you need to fall asleep on your dad, it's okay. Or your sister. Creed. I think it's your dad. All right. City Administrator's report, please. This is ordinance 25004, first reading, alley vacation and replat, original Town of Riverton, Block 2, replat number 1.
Thank you, Your Honor. Several petitioners have come before the city to request the public alley located between East Fremont Avenue and East Park Avenue from North 7th Street East to North 6th Street East be vacated. And this request is also part of a replat application. The request will enable St. Margaret's Catholic Church to enclose the alley with a fence and prohibit access by unauthorized members of the public, whether on foot or on vehicle. The primary motivation for the vacation, expressed by the church and the other petitioners, is to create a safer environment for students attending St. Margaret's School. The ability to vacate a public street or alley or right-of-way is provided by Wyoming state statute, specifically statute 154305, and I'll read that in its entirety. The governing body, meaning you as the city council, has the exclusive power, and by ordinance, may vacate any highway, street, lane, or alley or portion thereof. No vacation may be ordered except upon petition of a majority of the owners owning a majority of the property abutting on the portion proposed to be vacated, and extending 300 feet in either direction from the portion proposed to be vacated. It also states that the city or town may demand and receive the value of land vacated as consideration for the vacation. As it relates to the requirement for the petitioners, property owners that are abutting the alley to be vacated have signed on to the petition for the vacation of the alley. There is also a majority of the property owners, as outlined by statute, for those that extend in a linear fashion 300 feet to the east and also to the west of the alley proposed to be vacated. And in your packet, you do have a visual of the properties that have signed on to the original petition. As part of the proposed alley vacation through the replat, as I mentioned, it is proposed also to combine some lots and replat the original plat. Specifically, the petition is asking to create Lot 1 from lots 1 through 6, Lot 7A from lots 7 and 8, and Lot 9A from current lots 9 and 10, and then Lot 11A from lots 11 and 12. And that proposal in visual format is provided in your packet, so you can see where those combination of lots are located. 14 of 21 property owners at the time of application, again, signed on as co-petitioners. This does represent 66% and meets the threshold required. And I also want to make note that as part of the replat, a 20-foot utility drainage and private access easement is established where the current alley is located that will be is proposed to be vacated. This protects existing utilities that range from overhead power, city sewer, telecommunication, gas, and others from being able to have access to their existing utilities for maintenance and service delivery. The City of Riverton also collects solid waste in the alley, and through coordination with our Public Works Department and with the easement that is proposed with the replat, the city would still be able to continue its service for those solid waste or sanitation services. Tonight, Your Honor, you have, through ordinance, the opportunity to review the proposed alley vacation and the replat and approve it on first reading after public hearing. You could deny the proposed replat, but you could deny the proposed alley vacation, but approve the replat of the original town of Riverton. You could approve the replat with other conditions and stipulations as you see fit. The Planning Commission did consider this application and unanimously recommended it for approval for your consideration. And with that, Your Honor, I'll stand for any questions. We do have petitioners in the audience, and I know they have information that they have prepared for you in advance that is at your table.
Thank you. Administrative Services Director, could you please read Ordinance 25004 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 25-004, an ordinance vacating a 20-foot alley between lots 1 through 6 and lots 7 through 12, Block 2, original town of Riverton, to the city of Riverton, Wyoming.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey with the motion, Councilwoman Johnson with the second. All in favor, say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I declare the public hearing open. Meeting will be conducted in accordance with Wyoming statute and other applicable laws. I'd ask individuals wishing to speak regarding this item to approach the podium, identify yourself for the record, and as noted earlier, please keep your comments to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. My name is Megan Mossbrecker. I am the principal at St. Margaret's School, and I'm here on behalf of St. Margaret's Church and School. Before I start, I would like to invite everyone in attendance today, if they're here in affiliation with St. Margaret's, to please stand.
Cool.
Thank you. So I think that's just a testament to the importance of student safety within our community. I would like to invite one of our students from St. Margaret's up to make just a brief statement.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Eli Hill. I am a fifth grader at St. Margaret's. I am here today with my principal and school community because I love my school. I want to feel safe at school, just like every kid deserves to feel. This is where you come in. We need your help. Thank you for listening to us today.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Well said.
Yes. So just so you know, St. Margaret's School serves students preschool through 5th grade. Our enrollment and our employment is open to everyone, Catholic or not. And we have about 100 Catholic and non-Catholic students and staff at the church and school on any given weekday. When soliciting the neighboring petitioners to support our efforts, we aimed initially at obtaining majority, but we've gone even further since then. Since that point, 4 additional neighbors provided verbal support for our efforts, and we were unable to find contact information for the remaining 3 property owners. Before the meeting, we provided you with a list of those individuals. They're color-coded for you. I want to emphasize the national focus on school safety. The public priority is to provide a safe environment where all children can learn and play at school safely. Our school has made rigorous efforts to assess our vulnerabilities and to improve our security, and we've addressed over the past about year and a half several security enhancements, including new door systems and a new access system at our main entrances. However, we need your help for the next steps. Our plan is to install gates at both ends of the alleyway, creating a secure and enclosed area around the school and the playground. That map is in your packets on page 31. We anticipate paying fair market value for this land, which is customary. The gates will be closed during school hours from about 8:05 to 2:45 p.m., and they will remain open outside of school hours for public access. The entrance into the alley would provide an off-street waiting area, parking space, if people are needing to be admitted there. When exiting the alley, the vehicle's weight would trigger an automatic opening. I also provided you a student at St. Margaret's generated a map for you as well, so you should have that in your possession just to illustrate those gate systems and where they would be located. A camera or doorbell system would be installed at the entrance of the alley at that gate for access requests during the school day when the gates are closed. At least 3 school officials who are on campus on any typical day will have access to that access system, which would include a camera. Ideally would be tied into the new and effective access system that we've recently installed at our school. We would provide emergency access to fire and emergency personnel to ensure that they obviously have access to our property during any emergency situations. And the access system, like I said, will be monitored when the gates are closed. The affected property owner will also have a custom code or button for their personal use. All utility companies will have easements to ensure their full access. Garbage pickup will not be affected as the current collection occurs in the alleyway prior to our school day. However, if that pickup is delayed for some reason, they would simply ring the doorbell at that entrance gate and be permitted to continue their route. Again, requesting access happens off the street in an off-street waiting or parking area. And St. Margaret's Catholic Church and School will take responsibility for the maintenance of the alleyway to ensure proper upkeep of that property. City Council, we need your help in taking this next crucial step to enhance student safety while they attend school, which is a community priority. Thank you for your time and consideration. Mr. Mayor, I'll stand for questions if I need to. Yep.
Sounds good. Thank you, Principal Mossbrucker. Any questions from the council?
I had 1 or 2.
Councilman Carr?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just out of curiosity, what is your current enrollment versus your capacity?
That's a great question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. Our current enrollment, we're sitting right at 70, which I will say is a 21% increase since last spring. Our capacity, do you want an exact number? I can prepare one for you very soon. Yeah, I was going to say about 120. Yep.
Okay, so you're about a little under 50% capacity. Okay. The reason I ask that,
Well, we're over 50%.
or a little,
Yeah.
yes. The reason I ask that is from a planning perspective. One, we can't ever get right-of-way back, right? I don't think it's a big deal in this situation, but as you grow, which you certainly intend to
to.
do, you will be eventually looking for another location or a larger facility at some point. And so it just factors in, but it sounds like you've probably got several years.
We've got room for growth where we're at right now, for sure. Absolutely.
And then you did mention that you were not opposed to paying fair market value. Has an assessment been performed?
Informally by some of the petitioners, but I don't know if anything formal has been, yeah.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Councilwoman Johnson.
just a quick question. Have there been multiple incidents, or is there something that occurred that made you guys come to this conclusion that you needed to do this to protect the children? Or is it one incident, multiple incidents? Is there just general concern for the kids?
You know, there are always incidents that kind of bring a certain level of awareness to our leadership and our staff, but I wouldn't say there's anything noteworthy that singularly kind of inspired this proposal. Like I said, nationally and in our community, student safety is a priority. And just as we've kind of been on a journey to increase our school security at St. Margaret's, one of the vulnerabilities that was assessed about a year ago was that alleyway and the public access to our students where they learn and play. We didn't have the means or a plan at the time to address that, so now we're moving forward with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Bailey?
Good evening. On the block that you guys are on, really, there's just one property that's not owned and controlled by the church or the school. And as I remember, and I didn't Google it or anything, but that person, they don't have a garage that accesses through that alley or anything anyway. So really, there's no property owners that are really going to be affected by the loss of this access. And the utilities obviously can get in there and do whatever they need to do because you would let them in, because if your power's out, you'll let them come fix the line or whatever. But I guess my opinion would be, I don't even know if I would let the gates be open in the middle of the night. Because, there's no reason for anybody to access that unless it's the fire department or the utilities, which then, you're going to give an access ability for them. So I don't know if that's in the ordinance that we're writing of how they can control it, or whether these hours of service or gates open or closed are included in this, but, I would be more than willing to, my own personal opinion is, it would be you guys to be able to control as you see fit. And in my opinion, there's probably not much that goes on in an alley after business hours that's,
Any good?
good for anybody involved,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilman Bailey, that's a good point. I think we were just trying to be cognizant of, lack of gym space. You talked about the assessment for a sports facility. There are a lot of public entities that use that gym. So we were just trying to be cognizant of, accommodating the public in the best way possible while also ensuring our student safety and security.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense with people that are using the gym for a community event. They'd want to be able to come and park in the lot, even though there's usually not room in the lot. You have to park around there.
But we do have rental, we have a protocol and a procedure for people to rent our facilities. We have access codes on the new door system, so there's definitely something that we can figure out there. The first priority is always going to be our student safety, so anything that affects student safety, that's going to be the top priority.
And this would be a vacation of an alley that's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6 lots on each side, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that necessarily it's creating a big inconvenience for the public in terms of a
Yeah.
right-of-way. I mean, in terms of what the right-of-way is there for, it's mainly for what you're still going to have a right-of-way there for, which is
Utility access.
utility access, solid waste removal, that sort of thing. If somebody were wanting to be driving or walking through the alleys, you've got a road that's just less than a full block away. So it's not even, in terms of, you know, if we're talking about an alley that somehow had a lot more, I guess, was more traversed for whatever reason, I could understand having concern. But with this being something where we've got that right-of-way right there for both foot and vehicular travel, it seems to make sense. And in terms of how that, the St. Margaret's has used the playground in that area, it's kind of, you've almost got the whole block. And so being able to have that and use that and be able to get there as you need to safely, I think is huge. And not worry about vehicle traffic as you're doing it. Mind you, I do know, not that I'm telling on anyone, I do know that they have had things up in the alley when school has been out and everything. And I don't think anybody's had any issue with it because I didn't even know about it until somebody told me about it. Yeah, I know, Father. I wasn't going to out you, but.
Yeah. And again, student safety is our utmost concern. The barrier is highly mobile, and it's just to prevent any tragic, accidents.
Well, and even just the makeshift barrier that you had there, I don't think you had anyone that came to the city and said, wait a minute, they're blocking the right-of-way.
That's a good point. Thank you for making that, yes.
I didn't find out about it until somebody who's big into confession told me about it. Councilman Larson?
Just to make it plain, the proposed vacancy of that is the purple. I know they don't have that, but between the gym and the other block, the middle part is gonna have a gate of sorts, front and back.
Yes.
I know, this is stupid. You have a fire at 2 a.m, who's gonna open that gate?
So as previously stated, emergency personnel will have a code. But again, I mean, if we think of previous incidents in residential or private or whatever, where emergency personnel need to access what they need to access, we would expect them to do what they need to do to gain access to
30
the property.
below and the electricity is off.
I think what she's saying, if they need to bust it down, they'll
Yes.
bust it down and they'll be okay with it. At least that was the discussion during the
Yes.
planning committee.
And we do want them to have access to it. But the plan right now is for those gates to be closed during the school day when students are in those areas.
And then
That's a-
during those times, they're going to be monitored anyway, so if there were a fire or something like that, it'd be easy to get it open.
Absolutely. That's the first tier of support. They would have their own codes for their access, just like they have keys to many of our buildings. Secondary would be the person monitoring the system. And then third, if they need access, we would expect them to get access by whatever means possible in order for them to do what they need to do in an emergency situation.
All right?
Your Honor, I just have a couple lighter-hearted kind of comments. I think this is amazing, and it makes perfect sense, and I'm sitting here thinking, why didn't we do this before? And the other thing is the kids. Thank you guys for being here, and I love this map. My favorite part is it says amen on the front of the church.
It does, yes.
You guys did an amazing job.
Why this wasn't signed? I want to know who.
Yeah, same with me.
Was it you, Delaney? Nice job.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I like the "we," but anyway, it says "we" on the swing.
Yeah,
But,
I loved that.
Can I have a moment? But I'd like to just say, school safety, I mean, I'm a teacher. We've had a few issues in Riverton of some deaths here in the last 10 years, 15 years, and this is absolutely something we have to do, absolutely have to do it. you know, it's just, we don't want it to get to the point where we have any incidents, you know? So, I mean, just, you know, yeah, my son was in one of the classes where, you know, one of the girls got in an accident and, you know, one of the more recent deaths, and we just don't want to get to the point where we even have an issue. So, yeah, let's, you know, I'm all for it. Let's do it. Absolutely have to do this before anything becomes an issue. Every single school needs to be as safe as we can possibly make it. Absolutely. So, thank you for coming to us with this. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Johnson?
Not a question, just a comment. I want to commend you, your staff, the parents, the kids, the young man that got up and spoke. It takes a lot of courage to do that.
Absolutely.
And I commend you guys for taking the necessary steps to keep our kids safe, the school property safe, in any measure possible or necessary. So good job, and you guys have my full support.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else to speak for public comment? Are you standing up because you want to stretch your legs or because you want to say something?
I was just going to back Megan up a little bit with the point that
Sure, come on up.
I didn't want to leave my feeble mind before. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Ted Ray. The only thing I wanted to bring up is you can get those gate systems with a manual override, that
Nice.
the services could manually override and open them that way.
That's it.
Just wanted to bring it up.
Good deal.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Nice.
I'm Jessie Lee, and I'm a nearby neighbor to St. Margaret's, and I'm very familiar with that area, and I think this is a great idea.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Nicole Wagon again, and I support St. Margaret's. As you guys know, my grandson does go to St. Margaret's School, and to share and thank Miss Megan calling me today that my grandson is going to be Student of the Week. He's excited and telling everybody, Miss Grocery Store, you know, and he's adopted Mr. Mike Bailey as his grandpa, so I imagine when he sees him, he'll share that. And I applaud their efforts, and I'd like to personally thank Mrs. Maria for being recognized in County 10 for all what she does for our St. Margaret's School and Father's Day. But I would like to share also that I'm grateful for the safety of our children. I don't know if you guys recall, I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before, when we go and pick up the children, there was an incident to where somebody tried to attempt to take a child out of the vehicle. There was another incident to where the playground was vandalized. And my grandson shares quite a bit to what he sees of stranger danger or not feeling safe, or he'll go right up to Father Shea and share everything with him. They have a unique relationship, and I'm grateful that for that unique relationship. They share the same birthday, so they're twins. So, but
I've seen the resemblance.
do you see it? So with that being said, I thank you guys for doing that for the safety of the children, and it just makes my day this evening to be able to share that with you all. So again,
Thank
I
you.
support that, and thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. If there's nobody else to speak, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Declare the public hearing closed. I'd entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 25004 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Your Honor.
Councilman Bailey Larson with the motion. Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead.
Councilwoman Borders and Councilman Carr with the second.
I just had a comment or
All right.
question.
We could do some discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm certainly in favor of the ordinance. However, we do have a private landowner that is requesting a vacation of real property. I think it would be probably appropriate to have a formalized assessment of the property so that we can at least see what that value is to potentially discuss that at future readings.
I think that'd be worthwhile.
I think, but before they do that, the buyer pays for the appraisal, not us.
No, yeah, that would be on the purchase.
But I mean, I don't know right off the hand if we've had property condemned, like the acre that a property across from the Ranger, we sold for $40,000. Appraisal was 60. We couldn't get probably 30 out of it now, other than a parking lot. But, you know, a strip of 15 feet by is unusual, and I think you're gonna have a hard time finding comparables.
Comparables, yeah.
And I think that's where it gets a little bit difficult in terms of being able to say what the value would be.
Or fair market.
Your Honor,
Mr. Butterfield?
I think you have two decisions before you before getting to the valuation of the land. First is whether or not you want to approve the proposed vacation on first reading. And then next is to exercise what is allowed by statute, and that is that you may demand and receive the value. It's not you shall. So this governing body has to first choose if it is going to demand that compensation. And if you choose that, then we can talk about the method by which to establish the valuation. That could be done by hiring an appraiser to appraise the land. It could also be done through a fair market analysis. That would probably be my recommendation to you, where one of our local real estate companies could perform that fair market valuation without hiring a full appraiser.
Broker's price opinion or whatever?
Yeah, Your Honor, I believe that would work.
Yeah, it's a broker. We have a realtor that does our property. Home Source Realty, George can do that.
So, okay. So I guess would that be something we would need to have a vote on separate?
Yes.
Or are you okay with council concurrence on that in terms of direction for staff?
Your Honor, I think the cleanest way would be to have us amend it into the ordinance, and then you could just approve it through that action. You could handle it via separate motion after you approve the ordinance on first reading, and then just have a separate motion that would require that.
Ms. Mossbrucker, what would you propose in terms of what you think could be a fair way to set a fair market value for this?
I think if the decision is before you to collect compensation or not, it would be clear what I would recommend for you guys. But at the end of the day, we want to acquire that land so that we can ensure safety for students. So, you know, we would just follow your, you know, expert advice there.
I guess if we could, and this is something we'll have to discuss with the council and we'll have to decide. But if it were something where we could get a broker's price opinion, I think that would be easy enough.
Well,
And then we could get that into the ordinance with the amount at the third reading. Would that make sense? Or how would that work? I'm not used to having a
So, Your Honor,
go ahead.
I think first we have, so do we need two motions, one for the vacation and one for the replat?
Well, the ordinance has
Or an
both.
amended motion.
Your Honor,
An amended motion.
as this discussion is happening, what I would probably recommend, as I've had a little bit more time to think on this, is you handle the proposed ordinance as it stands right now, and then through separate minute action, you as a council could decide if you are going to demand and then receive the value of the land. And then we could go forward and work with the applicant on establishing that. We'll go back and verify state statutes and make sure that we comply with all statutes as it relates to the liquidation of public property. And so that's probably how I would handle this, is so we get it on the record through minute action that you want to exercise that clause, if you so choose, and that would just be after you approve the proposed ordinance on first reading.
Okay. So we could do that vote,
So,
and then
Your
we could
Honor.
do a separate vote for that.
So you're talking about going through 3 readings, approving this, and then deciding
No.
the value?
No, that we would, if we approve this on first reading, the next step would be we would just have a motion and a vote in regards to whether we would want to get fair market value, and then we would have that be something that we would consider on the third reading, I suppose, in terms of what that would be.
I'd say, Your Honor, I'd say before the third reading.
Would we need to have it intermingled at all, or could it just be separate?
Your Honor, I believe it could be separate, and I had conversations with Mr. Sollers as we were beginning this process, that it was something that we didn't want to have included when the Planning Commission considered it, because they had no authority as to whether or not compensation could be required. So I do think it's appropriate for you to consider the vacation through the 3 reading process. But if you so chose tonight, you could make an action related to whether or not you would like to receive the value of the land. Once we receive that motion, we as staff can move forward, work with the applicant, and again, ensure that we comply with other laws that relate to this and get that fair market value established.
All right, thanks, Principal Mossbrucker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Your Honor, I move to amend the, whatever it is we're doing, to include the evaluation of the proposed property to move forward.
To require a fair market analysis of some sort before we would do the sale?
Yes, to include a fair market analysis of the property in question before the sale is complete.
Okay. We've got a motion in that regard. Mr. Butterfield, were you saying, though, to have it be separate? So once we get done with this vote, we would do that? Is that what you were saying?
Your Honor, that was where I was leaning, but it's really up to the governing body if you want to handle it by amending it into the ordinance.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Okay. Any other discussion in that regard?
Your Honor, I think it should be done as a separate motion after we're finished this motion.
Okay.
I think that would be cleaner.
I agree, Your Honor.
Okay, so we have 2 opposed. Anybody else?
Call for the vote.
I'm just trying to get kids to sleep. I mean, poor Creed over there on his dad's.
Call for the vote.
By the way, if you want, you could come sit up here. Not a bad place to nap. I've done it. I'm joking. All right, we have a motion to amend to add the requirement for a fair market analysis and the compensation to the city for the vacation of the alley. Do we have any other discussion?
Your Honor, I guess the only thing I would have is, depending on what the analysis says, I guess we could address that at that time, whether we would want to be compensated or.
Well, if that's the case, then what we would probably want to do is not have it be an amendment, and we would probably want to have that be separate minute action rather than having it tied in with the ordinance.
Your Honor,
Consider that later.
what Kyle's saying is if we close the first motion, then we can move on and make that a separate thing,
Yep.
okay?
I agree.
So that's probably the best thing to do, because then they're 2 separate motions. Do you see what I'm saying? And then we can, if we decide to take payment or not take payment, we've done they're 2 different things.
Okay?
And that doesn't require 3 readings.
And it doesn't require, we can move on. We're still approving the replat, but we can decide what we do with the money either way.
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment as we've discussed, say aye. Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right, the amendment dies. Back to the main motion. Let's get this done. All in favor of passage of ordinance 25004, first reading, alley vacation and replat, original Town of Riverton Block 2 replat number 1, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I vote aye. Motion passes. Is there any other motions in regards to this property?
Your Honor,
Yes, sir.
I would move that in an effort to determine whether or not we want to demand payment, as state statute says, that we require a market analysis be performed on the .14 acres of land being vacated.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Carr, a second by Councilman Larson. Any other discussion? So at this point, we're not saying we're not going to require it. We just want to see what the value is before, and we can figure it out from there.
Yes.
Okay? All in favor, say aye.
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 I vote aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. You can go home and go to bed now. Thank you. But we still have 2 more readings. I'm not trying to discourage, I'm just saying.
And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting.
Usually when Eli and I are this close to a microphone, I usually ask him some questions about theology, and he loves that.
Does he?
Eli's out of here.
So Eli,
He's off.
you're 400 one.
Eli, I heard your last name was Hill. There's another Hill in the room. Are you related? Your last name is Hill. There's another Hill right behind you. Are you related? Yes. Oh.
Do you think?
Dad.
You couldn't see the similarity.
Couldn't
I
tell.
could see it.
Couldn't tell.
Thanks,
Thank
Father.
you.
Thank you. Bye. You know how to clear out a room.
That's right, nothing to it.
Consideration of Resolution 1518, Wyoming Water Development Level 2 Study. Public Works Director, you want to tell us about this one?
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Brian's on.
And council. This resolution would support us entering into a level 2 study. As you recall, in the tail end of 2024, we had finished up our level 1 water study, which evaluated our entire system citywide. During part of that evaluation, we identified that we really lacked information on our well fields, and we also really needed to take a good look at a very high-level look at our potential leaks in the system. What this resolution would support is the city entering into a level 2 study to determine the feasibility of doing a comprehensive leak detection study, and also provide data that we're sorely missing right now on our well fields right now. There is a $3,000 filing fee to enter into this study. However, the Wyoming Water Development Commission would support the study at 100%. And we'd recommend your approval on that. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Harris, if you could read us Resolution 1518 by title only.
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed resolution number 1518, a resolution of the governing body of the city of Riverton supporting a level 2 application through the Wyoming Water Development Commission.
I'd entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 1518.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Borders with the motion, Councilman Carr, not Peranto, with the second. Other discussion?
Do we have an estimated cost on that?
Mr. Eggleston?
That's what the study would help determine, Your Honor.
The study, no, what does it cost for the study?
I wouldn't want to wager a guess.
What the Wyoming Water Development Commission awards to the consultant.
Yeah.
We don't pay anything.
So it costs Riverton $0.
Correct.
It cost us, Your Honor, Councilman,
We get.
cost us $3,000 if we're successful with our application.
But if we're unsuccessful, half of that is refunded.
3/4 of that is refunded.
Oh, 3/4, thank you. Oh, yeah, 75%. I knew I saw a percentage that had a 5 in it. Any other discussion?
Just a real quick question. Do we know what kind of leak detection they're going to use? Or is that to be determined?
To be determined, I would say.
Okay.
We're going to put a lot of water in the lines, and we're going to see how much comes out the other end.
Really pressure it up, see if it comes out of the ground.
Your Honor and Councilman Carr, there are some new technologies, satellite-based, can actually scan an area and help you detect areas of moisture, or areas of concern.
Cool.
Then we can get in the field and actually delve into them a little deeper.
I've also seen
We
helium
have a large
injection
loss.
work really well.
Huh, very cool.
And then they can detect the helium.
They can detect
coming
it
out.
because it floats.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Really cool.
Helium makes sense.
Or purple smoke or something, you know, that would
Yeah.
be cool.
You could put natural gas.
Something to set everybody up.
That's walk around with a torch.
Okay, obviously, we get a little punchy
Getting
at
late.
9:30.
Mike have that job.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I vote aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Eggleston. Bid award 2025 pavement preservation project. Public Works Director's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a project pushed forward by the Force Committee. What we're doing tonight is requesting a bid award for the 2025 pavement slurry seal project in the amount of $396,200 to Asphalt Preservation LLC in Utah. Last year, we did 116,000 square yards of streets. This year, our proposal is for 168,000 cubic yards of roadway to be sealed. We received one responsive bidder, which is Asphalt Preservation LLC. And at this point, I'd recommend approval or award of this bid in that amount, $396,200.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to award the bid for the 2025 pavement slurry seal project in the amount of $396,200 to Asphalt Preservation LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey with the motion, Councilwoman Borders with the second, Councilman Bailey with the comment. What's up?
Mr. Ingleson, what is that cost per yard compared to last year? I'm just curious.
Your Honor, Councilman Bailey, I don't have that number in front of me. I could probably find it if I dig through it. It's $2, I believe it's $2.30 per square yard.
And then my other question would be is if we decide we have a little extra funding left, are they willing to do additional square yards at the same price or something? Or is that something we can look at? Or
Your Honor, Councilman Bailey, we can negotiate with them as the only successful bidder or responsive bidder. We have the ability to negotiate either up or down with them.
Okay.
You're saying that they were the only responsive bidder you're sending out?
Your Honor, Councilman Larson, there was another bid that arrived 40 minutes late, so we weren't able to even entertain that.
It didn't pass muster because it didn't qualify right off the bat.
It missed the time,
Yeah,
and by law, we couldn't
All
even
right.
pursue it.
not even peak, huh?
Was it similar? I mean, was it?
Can't look.
Can't look.
Can't even look at it?
The bid-
Did you look at it?
They're sealed, but
the bid is still sealed.
Wow, that's so rough.
I wonder if we could kind of change the time, like say, we're going to now declare it's 4 o'clock rather than 5 o'clock.
Your Honor, I'm not going there.
Two-ish.
hold your ground.
Well, thank you, Mr. Eggleston, and thank you for clarifying that. I had noticed you had said responsive bidder, and I figured that meant we had either A, received a bid that was not responsive in the sense that it was off base, or that it was timing-wise had an issue, so.
They were
All right.
way cheaper last year, this company was.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I vote aye, motion passes. All right, Mr. Eggleston, you get to take us home here tonight. Contract approval for wastewater treatment plant improvements, HDR Engineering, Inc. Public Work Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. If you recall, a few council meetings ago, HDR was recommended as the consultant for the wastewater treatment plant project, which includes looking at our clarifiers, our UV disinfection, and also our grit system. HDR was chosen as the most recommended consultant, which WCDA also concurred with that recommendation. We were then directed to negotiate the contract with HDR and received a negotiated contract for their services, which also received WCDA concurrence in the amount of $470,350. Tonight, we're seeking to close this gap and award this project to HDR and get this project underway.
All right, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the selection HDR Inc. consultants for the wastewater treatment plant process upgrade project, or WTPPUP, I guess, funded by the WCDA, and approve the negotiated contract for their services, $470,350.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Larson, second by Councilwoman Borders. Any other discussion?
Do we have it budgeted?
Do we have it budgeted?
Your Honor, Councilman Larson, this project it has been budgeted this year. The amount of the grant award was budgeted in the FY25 budget. Should be noticed that all this fund is 100% grant money through the WCDA. Obviously, we have to fund the upfront and then seek reimbursement. But this project's 100% grant funded.
So how long do we get, so the bill goes in, how long does Mia have to balance it to get the money back?
Generally, I'm not going to speak for Mia, but generally they're fairly quick as long as all the paperwork is in order. There's a lot of federal requirements for employee payroll and stuff like that that need to be met. But she's on top of that generally anyway before it's ever submitted.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Month or two, Mia?
We generally don't pay the pay applications until we have the Davis-Bacon certified payrolls in our hand. It usually provides a little incentive for payment when we require that. And generally, it's probably about 2 weeks normally for turnaround time. They're fairly quick.
Any other discussion? Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. I vote aye. Motion passes. One more motion to consider. I'd consider a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Just because of the way Councilman Johnson looked at me. We're going to say the motion was from Councilman Carr, and the second by Councilman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. We are adjourned at 9:44. The motion passed.
Thank you.
I do.